Okay, so I'm going to be working with somewhere between 2.5 to 3 pounds of chicken. So I'm going to season this chicken. I have 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. If you want to keep things gluten-free, you can use cornstarch or potato starch. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1.5 teaspoons of seasoned salt. Am I missing an ingredient? No, I think that's it. And you can season your chicken however you like, but I'm just going to give this a mix and coat the chicken with this dredge. I'm going to go in with clean hands and just coat your chicken well. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so next I'm going to work on my puree. Here I'm going to be using around 1 pound of tomatoes. If you have Roma tomato, that works even better, but this is what I'm working with today. I'm also going to be adding a tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of Mexican oregano, 1 clove of garlic, a 1/2 cup of water, and that is going to be the puree. That's going to be the liquid that goes into this stew. Okay, so I've roughly chopped my tomato. I'm actually going to add just 1/4 cup of liquid or water. If you find that you need more, then go for the full 1/2 cup. But these tomatoes are really ripe and juicy. I'm going to add my clove of garlic, my Mexican oregano, and my tablespoon of chicken bouillon powder. And if you don't want that much, then maybe 1/2 tablespoon. Now I'm going to blend and puree well. For the next ingredients I'm using in this recipe, I'm using 1 pound of potatoes. You can peel russet potatoes. I have these gold potatoes to use today. And I have some epazote. This is a fragrant herb, and if you can find it, you can use it. If not, you can use some fresh cilantro or a scallion, just place it whole. Basically anything that's aromatic that you want to flavor your stew. When I find epazote, I get excited, so I always cook with it, and I had some left over from a recipe that I recently made, so this is the rest of it, and it's going in. So I'm gonna clean and peel these potatoes and leave them in large chunks, and it's gonna be time to put this dish together. Okay, so I have a large flat-bottomed pot. This is actually, I believe, a 6.9 quart pot. I will link this pot set that I have that I'm using today in the description below. I am going to cover the bottom of this pot with cooking oil. I'd say I used about 1/3 cup or so. What I'm going to do now is skin side down. I'm going to start browning my chicken thighs. These are bone-in chicken thighs, so it is going to take some time for them to cook through. So I want to make sure that they get a really good brown on the exterior. Okay, so my chicken is browned. I actually browned it for 6 minutes on each side, so it's probably almost cooked through. Okay, so now I'm going to work on sauteing the potatoes, and we're going to put it together in the pot. Okay, so I lowered the heat to medium, and I removed most of the rendered fat and oil that was left in the pot. So now what I'm going to do is add 1/2 of a small onion that I just sliced into rings, or just pieces. You can do chunks, you can dice it however you want. Now I'm going to add my potato into the pot. I'm going to add a pinch of salt to the potatoes, a little bit of cracked black pepper, I'm going to add 1 bay leaf. It's small. You know what? I'll add 2 small bay leaves. I'm going to saute the potatoes just for a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to add in my tomato puree. Give that a mix. And at this point, before you add the chicken, you'll want to taste the puree for salt, seasoning, pepper, and add it to your preference. Now I'm going to add in my chicken. In one of my last videos, I think it was my arroz con pollo or fideo con pollo, someone asked, how do you keep the chicken crispy? Well, if you're going to stew it in a pot like this, it's not going to stay crispy. So what you'll probably want to do is just make your stew with the vegetables and bake your chicken until crispy and then just serve it together at the end. But you add your chicken to a pot like this and you stew it, it's not going to be, the skin's not going to stay crispy. Just make sure the potatoes are submerged, and the chicken, even though I cooked it for about 12 minutes, it was around 5 to 6 minutes on each side of browning, and the chicken will render natural juices as it stews. I'm going to add the epazote on top. Once it's starting to simmer, so I'm going to go ahead and cover it. I'm going to lower the heat. Okay, so I'm going to let this stew and simmer with a lid for about 20 to 25 minutes. Basically, you're waiting for the potatoes to get tender and the chicken to cook completely through, so I think about 20 minutes should do the trick. Okay, so it has been a little over 20 minutes. It's about 22 to be exact. I'm going to shut off the heat, and this is done. And unlike when you're making rice, you can lift the lid and, you know, test out the chicken, see if it's cooked through, and see if the potatoes are tender. So this is done, and I'm just going to garnish with some parsley. I typically wouldn't do that, but for thumbnail reasons, I just want to add a contrast of color. But this is ready to serve. And the potatoes are tender, the chicken is cooked through and tender. It goes great with any type of rice that you like. I typically like to serve this with yellow rice. I will link a recipe video for that below or somewhere here at the top of the video. Homemade tortillas, perfect with this. Black beans, pinto beans, just serve it how you like it, and it is a very comforting dish. So I wanted to show you. If you'll notice, the combination of that flour seasoning dredge that I dredged the chicken with, the starchiness from the potato, and the fact that I only added a 1/4 cup of water to the tomato puree really does yield a gravy textured sauce, and it coats the potatoes and the chicken beautifully. I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.